made a profit of around $100 million.
Mm-hmm.
They're obviously expecting it to be
Bigger.
way bigger because he did Jaws and Raiders and yada 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 yada. So why do you think it didn't blow it out of the park like those other ones did?
I don't think Spielberg is good at making lighthearted family films. Welcome to A Cast with No Name. We're your hosts. I'm Jay.
And I'm Matt.
This is episode 54. This episode, we remember a time when we used our imaginations as we talk about Spielberg's 1991 film, Hook. But first, don't forget to visit our website, acastwithnoname.com, where you can listen to all of our episodes, write to our email, comment on episodes. You can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Or you can, if you enjoy the show and you like it, please leave us a rating or a like or whatever you can on Spotify and Apple Podcasts to help the show find new listeners. So
Jay.
So Matt.
Why? So we're going to talk about Hook and why
Yes.
it didn't perform as well as it should have.
Yes.
To start it off, why or not why? Did you watch this growing up as a kid, or
Yes.
you did?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I feel like I watched it a fair amount of times.
Okay. All right.
It wasn't in my balls deep rotation.
What's in your balls? What's in your balls deep rotation?
Back to the Future, Goonies, The Karate Kid, Crocodile Dundee, and there's probably a couple of animated ones in there. Flight of the Navigator, Cloak and Dagger. So I had a balls deep rotation.
So this is like just the tip rotation?
This is, yeah, just a little bit of the tip. But I did watch it multiple times, and I enjoyed it.
Okay.
When I was a kid. So
sure.
But yeah. So how about you?
Yeah, I watch it all the time.
Okay.
For sure. So we're both nostalgic for it. Would you say?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. At probably varying degrees.
Okay.
I think when I watched this yesterday, and that was probably the first time I watched it in 8 years.
Yeah.
8 years, maybe 9 years. And then before that, it was probably 10 or 15 years or something.
Yeah, I hadn't seen it in, that's about right, 8 to 10 years. It'd been a long time since I'd seen it. But, all right, upon rewatch, what did you think?
So,
you're a father now. You're an old crusty geezer that just yells at, children as they go across your yard.
Just walk around. Just existing. Hey, put your hands in your pockets.
Yeah.
Sit down. Shut up.
As they scream back, go back in your house.
Fuck you, old man River. I'll break your hip. And then I chase him out with a broom. It was fine.
Okay.
I remember liking this more, obviously, when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Watching it now, I feel like this movie just tried to do way too many things.
All right.
And it didn't really nail any one particular thing, but it did several things kind of okay a little bit. I guess the perspective of what I was watching this, obviously you want to be in Peter's shoes, and I should be looking at it from his perspective as far as him realizing that, oh yeah, his kids are the joy of his life, blah blah blah. Like
Mm-hmm.
I already have that. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a chairman of the board somewhere, and I'm not traveling or working 16-hour days or whatever.
You don't work as much as
correct
Peter Banning.
Yeah. So I couldn't really relate to that. But what I found interesting was the sense of yearning for your childhood is another theme I picked up on, particularly with Maggie Smith's character, Wendy. And that's something I kind of never really picked up on when I was a kid, like that portion of it. Because from her standpoint of this movie, it's kind of heartbreaking because she still loves Peter.
Yeah.
And you could tell that was the love of her life.
Mm-hmm.
And she was never able to have him. And it was her first love, her childhood love. And that's something that I picked up in this movie that I didn't pick up on any previous watchings.
I think that is the most messed up part of the movie.
It's not, it's not handled well.
It's a little, like, oh, damn.
Yeah.
He's getting with her granddaughter?
So,
I don't know how I'd feel about that growing up.
And that's like it, and that's why I say it's like heartbreaking to where, I mean, they have like one small scene at the beginning to where no other girl held your attention or something to that effect the way that I held yours. Mm-hmm. And then she starts talking about how I was half expecting you to show up on my wedding day to stop the wedding. Yeah. And like everything, like she was just kind of spilling that all out.
Romanticizing about it.
Yeah. Romanticizing about it. And then, and this Peter Banning is still like, what are you talking about? Yeah. Like you're off your meds, you're having an episode or something.
An episode.
And so he was kind of freaked out by it, which is the correct reaction.
Sure.
And so it touches on a bunch of little stuff like that that I think it doesn't handle very well. And I think it's not handling those individual things very well that kind of had this fall flat for me in this viewing, because I think it opened up some interesting storylines that just never really played out.
Yeah.
And so that's, I guess, 10,000 foot view as far as
which supposedly I think they cut out like 50 minutes of this movie. It was supposed to be like 3.5 hours long.
Yeah, and I think they could still cut out some stuff in this movie.
You think so?
Yeah. There's
yeah.
The whole Wendy part. I think that should have been
left on the cutting room floor.
Left on the cutting room floor, or I mean, with the exception of him remembering, they should have framed that differently to where it should have been a more platonic. They should have cut out the Wendy romance to Peter, I think, because it does feel weird, him falling in love with the granddaughter, like out of the blue kind of a thing. And then like the grandmother like, oh, all right.
Like choosing that moment to be the point where Peter Pan decides to grow up. Mm-hmm. It seems, I agree with you. It
seemed weird.
They could have fleshed that out a little bit better. Yeah, I agree with you.
Or altered it or something. Yeah. Like maybe, I mean, maybe it could have been something along the lines of to where he comes back and notices that, and he kind of did this to noticing that Wendy's older and she can't play with him anymore. And that kind of spawning his, well, I don't want to lose my friend kind of a thing. Maybe that would, I don't know. Maybe that would have worked a little bit. I don't know, but
yeah. But then you run into the territory of it just being a long movie. If you want to flesh that out,
yeah, and which is why I think they should have just removed it. Quite a bit. There's a bunch of longer, there's probably about 10, 15 seconds of Julia Roberts footage they could probably just cut because some of the times the camera just kind of stayed on her a little too long, and I'm like, what the fuck is she doing here anyways? Kind of thing.
Okay.
But yeah, I feel like it still could have been cut down more.
Well, before we get too deep into it longer, so Hook, for those who haven't seen it,
they've seen it.
I'm sure they
They've
have.
fucking seen it.
Peter Pan grows up. Hook steals his kids. He goes back to Neverland to rediscover himself. That's the movie.
It's 2 hours and 22 minutes long.
I don't think it feels 2 hours.
It doesn't. I mean, the pacing is pretty good.
Yeah.
But I think it still could have been shorter.
No, you're just an old man.
I know.
You're just a crotchety old
I mean, I love that sweet runtime, but I don't know what this movie is supposed to be, and I don't know whose story it's supposed to be. Just, I don't know. It's just all over the place. Anyways, yeah, continue.
Yeah.
Go. Keep
well,
going.
I disagree with you. I think after watching it now, I like it. I like it more than when I was a kid. Just because I like the beginning, and then obviously when I was a kid, I was just into like the Lost Boys and Rufio. I wanted to be Rufio. Who didn't like Rufio? And the fights and the sword play and stuff. I hated like the first 30 minutes of it because I just wanted to get to Neverland.
Yeah.
Like I just want to get there. I don't care about this. I didn't care about. I always hated the scene where Peter's in the trunk of the tree and he's finally remembering, like, John sat here, Michael was here, and Tink, you were up there. Mm-hmm. Like, I like that scene more now, a lot more than I hated it when I was a kid. So I think I like the first 30 minutes the most because I think Spielberg sets that up perfectly. I think it's great. And I was reading a lot of the reviews on why critics didn't like it, and they thought that Spielberg, like once you get to Neverland, that it's too theme parky, like the production design is too over the top. And I couldn't disagree more with that.
I get what they're trying to say, but that's one of the things I enjoy about the movie.
Yeah,
is because it is over the top.
It's supposed to be.
It's a child's imagination. Yeah.
Thank you.
And that's the whole point. It's not going to be real.
Right.
You're not going to have
yes.
I think I saw a trailer for Peter Pan and Wendy. I can't remember if I have. I've seen some stills, and there's a lot of rumblings of people not thinking Tinkerbell is bright enough or whatever because
it's kind of shot like in like a green filter sort of.
Well, it's like just like a dark looking,
realistic.
Yeah.
Like why?
Yeah. It's a child's imagination. It's a child's playland. Why would it be dark and brooding?
Right.
Fuck off.
It's stupid.
Like, stop. Just fucking light it so people can see what the fuck we're looking at.
Yeah.
And but no, I thought that's one of my favorite things about this movie is the set design.
Yeah, really
especially when they're ramping up to go fight the pirates and they're jumping through, like putting all the armor on, all the machines that they made, and all their traps and contraptions and stuff.
The Neverland piece of the movie, the meat of it, it's written like it's through the mind of a child, which is what makes it. I like that. I think it makes it look good. I thought. Criticizing it for being theme parked and over the top, I'm like, it's supposed to be. It's Neverland.
Yeah.
You want it to be distinct from the first 30 minutes in the movie where you're in the real world.
Yeah.
So I have a couple quotes here from Spielberg we'll get to where he agreed with that sentiment, and I don't understand why he's being so hard on himself for it. It doesn't make any sense to me. I think it's stupid.
Yeah. I think I always liked Neverland in this. I like it when he's flying through the air and you see the compass in the ocean or in the sea.
I like how it reflects the actual cartoon.
Yeah,
like Neverland looks like the cartoon.
The tiny things, just like, oh, there's snow here. There's it's great. Like it feels theme parky, but it feels like someplace you want to go visit.
Right.
And yeah, I thought that was one of the strongest points of the movie.
I agree.
Was that?
So yeah, let me go through a couple. Here's from Steven Spielberg. Here's a couple quotes from him. There are parts of Hook I love. I'm really proud of my work right up through Peter being hauled off in the parachute out the window, heading for Neverland. I'm a little less proud of the Neverland sequences because I'm uncomfortable with that highly stylized world that today, of course, I would probably have done with live action character work inside a completely digital set. But we didn't have the technology to do it then, and my imagination only went as far as building physical sets and trying to paint trees blue and red. I mean, I would not want to.
But that's the thing, like
that's what makes it unique.
Yeah,
I don't want everything digitized.
And I think part of liking this when you were a kid is like it felt like it could be your backyard, that you could make it yourself.
Right.
And yeah, digital set would make it boring. It would turn into Attack of the Clones. To where you'd just feel so separated from everything else, which I guess if you wanted to go with like a dream, kind of a dream state, sure. But then I feel like if you did that, then there wouldn't be as much stake in the story.
Right. Do you think if he would have had digitized sets, it would have made this movie better?
No.
I don't. Yeah.
No, because I think the weakest parts of this movie has nothing to do with the set.
Right.
It has nothing to do with the production design. I think that's fantastic. The flying is a little but it's what it is for the time.
Sure.
So. Yeah, the sets to me was never the weakest part. I always enjoyed the set because if it felt theme parky, that I feel like it worked because the pirates never go anywhere. They don't sail in their ship because they're always there. It's a child's it's your imagination. Yes. And if the pirates go, then what's the point of Neverland? Just hanging out, sleeping in a tree? No, they exist there for a reason, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And the ships don't have to sail. I feel like I don't know. I feel like it it works like that because it feels like your backyard. It feels like this place is always there. It's always a constant.
Yeah. I feel like it's a response that he's just saying because it didn't do well. Mm-hmm. And he thinks this is a good enough it's a good enough reason of why the movie didn't work in everyone else's mind.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it could be just be a political response as far as like, yeah, I get it. People don't like this. I mean, it's probably not his favorite either. I'm sure. And like right after this, he did Jurassic Park and Schindler's List.
Right.
So, I mean, this was kind of going into like his more adult oriented stuff. I think, like it wasn't the set design for me. For me, it was the story that I guess characters that I had an issue with.
Well, here's another quote he had. I felt like a fish out of water making hook. I didn't have confidence in the script. I had confidence in the first act, and I had confidence in the epilogue. I didn't have confidence in the body of it. I didn't quite know what I was doing, and I tried to paint over my insecurity with production value. The more insecure I felt about it, the bigger and more colorful sets became.
That I can kind of see, and I think I agree with. The beginning portion is really, really well done. Mm-hmm. Robin Williams gives a great performance of a stressed-out dad, which at the same time, those kids need to shut the fuck up. Like, you're on the phone, and they're just like, rah, rah, like, I feel like that's an expected response.
Like, you give them a nice little...
You give them a tap. You send them to the next room, through the wall, and then you're good to go. And...
you just let them know that you're there. You just give them a nice little nudge.
Yeah, just, hey.
Just let them know your presence.
On the phone, Chief. Give me a second. But they are being ridiculous. And
you're right. Yeah.
But
what did you think of the son throwing the baseball on the top of the plane?
Oh, I would have stopped that shit immediately. I'm like, dude, stop being a dick.
Yeah.
Like, not because of fear of the being sucked out, but just more of, that's annoying. Yeah. There's other people on the plane. Learn how to act in public. Right. Like you are, was he supposed to be like 10 or 12 or something like that?
Yeah. 12.
Yeah. Calm the fuck down. Yeah. Like, I don't know.
Jeez, Jay.
I don't know.
Dad of the year over here. God, I want to come to your house for Thanksgiving. Fucking animal.
I think, I feel like, I don't know. You don't throw baseballs up at the ceiling.
I agree with you.
On an airplane.
I agree with you.
You don't? I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. But I understand what he's saying in terms of the script. But I keep going back to it. Like, I like the middle of it because it feels like it's a script that was written by a kid. And that's why it works. And it's supposed to be. You're in Neverland. I don't know why you would get... Don't give yourself such a hard time that the script isn't, like, perfect in the middle. You're in Neverland. It's make-believe.
Yeah,
It feels like it was written by a 12-year-old boy.
A little bit. But then if it was, I feel like the main character wouldn't be Peter. I mean, I get it's supposed to be his story. He's supposed to be him coming in touch with being a child again. And I don't know if it's because it kind of goes back and forth between him and his son, and then his son bonding with Hook and all that. And then you have Tinkerbell's romance with Peter, and then you have... I mean, it just felt like there was a bunch of shit in there that had nothing to do with anything. Like, it's like, oh, Tinkerbell is going to grow up, like, get super huge, and, oh, confess her love. And then he's like, oh, no, I love Moira and Jack and Maggie.
Yeah, why would you need that in the story?
And, like, that's... Like, he has to kiss Julia Roberts to realize, oh, that's who I love is my family. Like...
That's the reason why I'm here.
It's a very superficial. I don't know. If it's a story about a person discovering and learning how to be a child, or again, I feel like it could have gone about it a different way.
Is there stakes in that? Do you really think that he's going to leave his kids?
No,
and stay in Neverland with Tinker? Yeah, I get what you're saying there. Like, what's the point of it?
And. I mean, the kid, like, I don't know, the kid, like, wanting to be with Hook, that I can understand, but I don't know if it's needed in the movie. I mean, I guess from Robin Williams' perspective, oh, my kid now likes...
I gave him the final push to...
Yeah. I mean, so that I can kind of see...
To
Maggie has nothing to do. She sings a song.
They cut out a ton.
Yeah.
With her, and she's supposed to be like the Wendy-esque character with the other stowaways. They cut out a lot of it.
Oh. Well.
Originally, it was supposed to be a musical.
Oh, is that why the random song is in there?
That's another reason. So I think John Williams wrote, 8 songs in total. Like, move them on up, kick them on down. That was supposed to be like a full-fledged musical number.
Yeah.
But it was more to like pass the time. And Spielberg admitted that he didn't have the balls to go full-fledged musical because he didn't know how to convince the studio to do it.
Yeah.
Because at the time, musicals were not a thing anymore. It just wasn't on the docket. And I think at the time, Hook was the most expensive movie that was made. I think it was like a $90 million budget at the time. And I think like a couple of years later, Jurassic Park blew it out of the water and all that stuff. But he wasn't going to get the budget that he needed for the movie if he was going to sell it as a musical, which is why he didn't do it. Yeah,
I don't think a musical would.
No, it wouldn't work. No.
Yeah, because it would have been more stuff in there that I just think there's subplots in here that just I feel like just don't belong, or they touch on it and then they don't do anything with it later on.
Right. I think this is the best. Like if I were to the story of Peter Pan, if it were to get adapted into a movie, this is the story that I would want to see. I don't want to see, because I think it appeals to families like a total family, like the parents and the kids. I think it balances that well. If it were just like a reimagining like Peter Pan and Wendy on Disney Plus, I think that's probably just going to be geared more towards kids. And it wouldn't be as interesting to parents to take your kids to go see it in the theater.
Yeah, because I would say, this is probably, it's probably because I saw it a lot when I was younger. This is probably my favorite interpretation of Peter Pan. I've seen Peter Pan, which came out in 2003 with Jason Isaacs. I've seen that one. I saw Neverland, which had some British people in it. It was like a miniseries, like a 2-episode, I think.
Did you ever watch Pan with Hugh Jackman?
No, I did not.
I didn't watch that one.
But Neverland I thought was fine.
Yeah.
Which that was on cable, I think.
I never saw that.
But Bob Hoskins reprises his role as Smee.
Does he?
Yeah. In that.
Well, what do you think of the performances in the movie, though?
Oh, I think Dustin Hoffman is fantastic.
Right.
Bob Hoskins as Smee is great.
Do you think anyone other than Robin Williams could have played the dual role of Peter Banning and Peter Pan? Maybe you could have someone that could play Peter Pan better or Peter Banning better, but I don't know if you could have had someone to.
I feel like they did a good job picking him, and he feels like one of the few people during that time, because it was before Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Was doing much, and the only thing I could think of maybe Michael Keaton.
Maybe, yeah.
And
they wouldn't have gotten Michael Keaton though. He just did Batman. He was Batman.
Yeah, he was in the middle of making Batman Returns. But I think.
But to bridge the gap between being an adult and then being a child.
Yeah.
I don't. There's no one better.
Yeah, and I don't know. Watching this, I felt like he did a better job playing Peter Banning than he did playing Peter Pan.
Really?
Yeah.
God, you're such a crouchy old.
I know. Well, it's just I felt like he was being held back or something.
You think so?
Yeah, I just felt like he was just being held back by something. Like it didn't feel like he was. It felt like he was trying to pretend to be a kid instead of being a kid, kind of a thing.
I didn't get that at all.
His best moment as Peter Pan, I think, is when he's talking to Tinkerbell in the.
The clock.
In the clock.
I like this game, please.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that scene before she got all huge, I think was probably the best of him being Peter. Everything else felt like a middle-aged man pretending to be a kid with a bunch of kids.
Okay.
Not that it was creepy or whatever. It was just like I didn't buy it, I guess, as much.
I gotcha.
When I was a kid, I think I bought it a little bit more. But upon the rewatch, I think he did a better job Peter Banning, which
you think I think he did a better job of the transition from Peter Banning to Peter Pan. Like when he's training to lose weight and learn to fly, and then like when he gets in the food fight and he starts insulting the kids, like that's a classic scene.
Yeah, him dealing like early on, I think he still did a good job with that. Yeah, that whole dinner scene, I always feel like he's just trying to keep himself from cussing, because that's what I would probably be doing.
I think that's one of the better scenes in the movie. It makes me laugh because those are like insults that a kid would
and an adult would also give to a kid, to where he's like, well, I'm not gonna.
You're a very ill-mannered young man.
Yeah, got him. But I think Dustin Hoffman is probably the best.
He's very good
performance in this. But the makeup for Maggie Smith, spot on,
very good.
So this movie completely deformed her age in my mind for the rest of my life, because she's still alive, and she looks exactly the same
she does in this movie.
as she does in this movie, because in this movie she was like 56.
Yeah.
And so they had to put her in old makeup, and then you see her as Professor McGonagall like 8 years later, and you're like, she still looks the same.
Yeah.
And then you see her Professor McGonagall 12 years later in the last movie, and you're like, she still looks the same.
Yeah.
And then you see her in Downton Abbey, and it's like, oh my God, she's like the female Sean Connery. But no,
yeah.
I think they did a great job with her, because I just genuinely thought she was already that old.
Yeah.
And
so interesting. The guy who wrote the screenplay, James V. Hart, he got the script greenlit, and Spielberg was in pre-production for it, like right after Temple of Doom. He wanted to make something lighter because of the backlash he got from Temple of Doom being so violent and the PG-13 rating and stuff. And then he had a kid.
Yeah. So
then he just stopped pre-production and gave it to Nick Castle, who got it because of the success from The Last Starfighter. You ever seen The Last Starfighter?
Yep. Have it right over there.
It's funny. Nick Castle, do you know who Nick Castle is?
Director?
Yes.
Sweet.
He's the original Michael Myers, The Shape.
Oh.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. He also reprised that role in the new Halloween remake. He plays Michael Myers again.
Oh, okay.
In that movie. He's actually a pretty good writer. Anyway, so Nick Castle's attached to it. Spielberg does more adult stuff. Tries to get away from the kiddie stuff. He does The Color Purple, Empire of the Sun, and then he does The Last Crusade to make up for Temple of Doom.
Yep.
And then they send over the script from John Hart, and he loves the idea of Peter Pan growing up. So then he calls the studio and says, "I'm really interested in this Hook screenplay. Is anyone directing it?" Nick Castle did. And the rumor goes, there's a rumor in Hollywood that Spielberg pushed out Nick Castle, and Nick Castle holds a grudge against Spielberg for it, but apparently it was all a studio decision. He got a 6-figure payout so that Spielberg could direct it, and then a story credit.
Got you.
It's just because the screenplay credit is James Hart and Nick Castle, but Nick Castle had nothing to do with writing it. So it kind of goes back to that conversation we had with Colin, where I'm like, what does a producer actually do? And, you get credit for something because whatever the case may be, and did you actually do something? Who knows?
Yeah,
but
you stepped out of the way, and kind of.
But yeah. Carrie Fisher was brought in for the Tinkerbell dialogue.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Yeah. Do you know she was kissing George Lucas on the bridge?
I knew that. Yeah.
Glenn Close does a cameo.
That's pretty good makeup, by the way.
Yeah, that is.
I never knew
the
that
boo
was...
box. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really good makeup.
She really hams it up. She really goes balls to the wall on that thing.
Phil Collins has a cameo.
Yeah.
Who else has a cameo?
Isn't there like a musician, like Crosby, Stills, and Nash, whoever that guy is?
Something. Yeah.
I don't know. Don't listen to the music.
But yeah,
What'd you think of the score?
It's good.
You like John Williams?
John Williams doesn't disappoint. It's a little Harry Potter-ish, little everything. Like you can. I mean, a lot of his scores sound similar, but
all right, I'm gonna see if you can tell the difference between this.
Oh, are we gonna do a game here? What's the game? Is it part of the movie or is it part of something else?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. So do I just have to say if it's part of Hook?
Yes.
Okay, or not?
Yes.
Or do I have to name the other movie?
You have to name the other movie. Let's make it harder for you.
Shit. All right.
All right, you ready?
Okay.
Is that Hook or is it not Hook?
I think it's Home Alone Part 2.
Wrong.
Oh.
It's Hook.
It's Hook? Shit.
All right, you ready?
Yes.
What is that, Jay?
Home Alone Part 2?
That's Home Alone Part 2. Yeah, when I'm watching, I'm watching the fee scene, and I'm like, I know that from somewhere. I swear I know that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like almost beat for beat when he enters Duncan's toy chest.
Yeah, which is fine. I mean,
it's fine.
He does how many movies a year?
Yeah, he does.
He probably just writes shit, and he's like, you know what? I'm going to use this for this, and then I'm going to change the chord slightly and use it for this. Like that's one thing I don't know anything about music.
I don't either.
Like nothing. But I think that would be interesting to, I guess, their thought process of it. It's just weird to.
And maybe we're not as in depth and in tune with music that they're probably like, oh, that's different notes. Oh, that's.
Yeah, I'm sure there's. I mean, it's similar because a lot of people hear it being similar, but I'm sure there's like a slight, like there's probably a term that you can say that means he changes it a certain way.
Sure.
Like not necessarily just the tempo, but either the chord or the arrangement or something like that kind of thing. But I don't know.
Yeah, that's iambic pentameter.
That was what Shakespeare wrote in for his stuff.
See, I'm smart.
So, yeah. That has nothing to do with
Garth, that was a haiku.
Yeah. So, iambic pentameter and haikus, both forms of poetry, or both are rhythms of poetry.
Oh, are they?
Yes. Or rhythms of
I didn't know that.
writing. Yeah.
Join us next time.
Nerds.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so score was good. I agree. So why didn't it do as good as it was supposed to, Jay? So it opened in December of '91.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't lose money, but again, it had a $90 million budget, a worldwide box office total of $300 million. So you double that, made a profit of around $100 million. Mm-hmm. They're obviously expecting it to be
bigger,
way bigger, because he did Jaws and Raiders and yada 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 yada. So why do you think it didn't blow it out of the park like those other ones did?
I don't think Spielberg is good.
Who?
At making lighthearted family films, like
oh, that's a hot take.
Like lighthearted,
it's a hot take.
Children films.
Okay.
So, and what I mean by that, like he did E.T.
Sure.
E.T. is fantastic, and it works because it makes you cry, and you love E.T. and you you love that relationship, and that's the crux of that movie is that relationship. Mm-hmm. He does great during that, but it's not like this is a different kind of movie. This is like a fun, family, goofy, learn to be a kid, like lighthearted kind of affair. And he's the only thing I think he's tried to do comedy wise is like 1942. Didn't deliver on that. Mm-hmm. But everything else is more adult oriented. Like even if it has kids in it, it's the emotional beats that is what works very, very well, and that family dynamic. You have that family dynamic in the very beginning, which is I think probably why you think it's better. I mean, that is his better part of the movie. Mm-hmm. But when it gets to trying to juggle everything as far as the Wendy and Tinkerbell storyline, the storyline with the kids, and then you have Robin Williams or Peter Banning trying to remember being a kid, and then you have the Hook thing, and their stories, like it's just too much, and it's just, I mean, it feels like it falls flat. Again, as a kid, when I watched this, it's very entertaining. And I was entertained again. It's not a shit movie. It's just, there's just a lot of stuff in there that I'm like, why is that in there? They don't conclude the storylines. It's just, I don't know. I don't think it's a strong suit. I feel like he is better when it's more of a dramatic, emotional story, and or spectacle and action. This didn't really have any of those things, in my opinion.
Didn't have spectacle and action.
It had great set design, but it wasn't. I mean, think about. I'm trying to. All right, let's. All right. Here, let me see. All right, so I don't want to compare this to Jurassic Park, but those movies came out 2 years apart.
Yeah.
I mean, one is phenomenal. It's suspenseful and stuff like that. It's more of an adult movie. He's very good at, Spielberg's always had this reputation of, the family movies and stuff. But most of his family movies he produced. He didn't direct.
Right.
And, I mean, other than E.T., there's not a lot. I mean, the BFG, he directed that. Did you ever see that?
Yeah.
I have not. Didn't really want to because it's fine.
I saw it because my boys wanted to watch it.
Okay.
That's why.
Was it good?
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's fine.
It's fine. I like Hook better.
Yeah. Now the Adventures of Tintin, I think it kind of worked. I enjoyed it. But I mean, most of his stuff is more adult oriented, and I feel like he's just better at doing that, to where Hook was it was a family friendly fantasy film. And maybe Ron Howard would have done a better job.
Oh, okay.
I feel like, because I feel like he could have gone from Willow into this very, very easily.
Okay.
And I feel like maybe he would have been a better director for it. I mean, there was a quote, I think Steven Spielberg said that after he got done directing this, he didn't know if he wanted to have any more kids. I mean,
Jesus.
Well, yeah, because he had such a hard time controlling all the kids that were the Lost Boys. And I'm like, I can kind of see that.
Sure.
Not him having difficulty with that, but I can see that kind of coming through on screen, to where it just felt long. I mean, it is 2 hours and 2.5 hours, but I mean, the pacing's fine, but I don't know. It wasn't his best one, and I think people just kind of picked up on that. So it's one of those things. There's tons of things that go into making a movie, and a lot of things you just don't pick up on, but your brain does. Mm-hmm. And like following the 180-degree rule. When you're shooting a scene, you don't cross this imaginary line. But if you do, you got to do it for a purpose, and you can only break that rule on certain occasions, because you just can't do it willy-nilly. That's just one example. Then there's a bunch of other stuff that people kind of think about when they choreograph shots. So, I mean, movie making is incredibly hard, and romance comedies, when two actors don't have that chemistry, you can tell, because it kind of comes across on camera it just doesn't work. They're saying the right lines, they're expressing the correct emotions, but it just doesn't work for some reason. And I think this movie is just an example of a bunch of those things happening, and then people watching it and being like, and it's, I don't know, but the movie's still fine. I still enjoy it. It's not my favorite Spielberg. It's not my favorite kids movie.
Right.
But I enjoyed it when I was a kid. But the things that I liked about it when I was a kid was the set and imagining going there, and putting on the armor, like those fun machines that they do. Oh, they skateboard and they have a basketball it was like a playhouse for children, and I think that's why I enjoyed watching it.
Of course you did.
Is because of just experiencing that world, not necessarily the story. I didn't watch it because I enjoyed Peter finding his childhood again. It was more of just the setting and the pirate fight and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It wasn't. I can't really say I've ever really was emotionally involved with any of the characters. Maybe Rufio, I guess. But I think my favorite character was that guy who turns himself into a ball. And Thick Bottom or whatever his name is.
Thick Bottom.
It's something close to it.
What are you talking about?
Thud Butt.
Thud Butt.
Might as well be Thick Bottom.
Yeah, I love these. Don't Ask, Thud Butt, Ace, Rufio, Pockets, Toodles. It's great.
But I don't know. I mean, it was still fun, but I think I kind of want to watch the movie that concentrates more on the serious side of Peter Banning trying to find his childhood again. Or kind of find, because more or less the movie's about him trying to be happy again, because he's not happy. And I think if they explored that more and from a more adult oriented thing, and they didn't, I mean, but it's hard to do that with a Peter Pan movie. You want to make it family friendly. I just think I felt like he wanted to tell a different story, but just couldn't, because he was still making a kid family friendly movie. It came across odd.
Okay.
But yeah.
I love it.
Yeah?
Yeah. I think it's I think people shit on this for no good reason. I don't understand it. It's a story about Peter Banning not being happy, and it's a journey of him trying to find his happiness again, cuz he just got caught up in his work or whatever, and he's trying to, like, his last happy thought. It's the birth of my son. I mean, it's sappy and sentimental, and that's a lot what these critics are saying. Oh, Spielberg gets lost in the sappiness. It's weighted in its own sappiness. That's why it doesn't work.
But it I don't know. It doesn't even feel sappy to me. It just feels, I guess, forced a little bit. Like, I understand him. Yeah, him becoming a father is a happy thought. That makes sense. And I feel like, I don't know.
I mean, it's as simple as,
because I'm thinking about things that I didn't think about when I was a kid.
You're not happy because you're focused on the wrong thing, and it's a journey of him focusing on the right thing.
Yeah, and maybe they should have had it to where he would become a father to the Lost Boys again.
That is another thing about this. So here's what I don't like about the movie is those scenes you were talking about, the Tink scenes that could probably just be cut out. The Wendy, Peter Pan falling in love with a granddaughter with Wendy. I mean, that feels a little.
It feels misplaced in this movie. I think that is a great theme to explore, especially for those two characters. Maybe as like a half-hour short film or something.
Yeah.
But I don't need to see a 2.5-hour movie of Granny Wendy longing for her. I
mean, you had to show something of why he left Neverland. I get it.
Yeah.
But did it have to be that? Probably not. It could have been something else.
But I think also, and this is just straight up changing the story, but I mean, maybe him learning to become a father to kids that aren't his son or something would strike something or like make him remember or like, because I mean that would have had a nice parallel, because when Wendy was in Neverland, she was kind of the mother to all the Lost Boys and had to where he would be the father.
Yeah.
And because I mean a lot of these family movies of the father works too much and stuff like that, they paint that as being bad. You got to pay the fucking mortgage. I mean,
not to the point where you're missing out on stuff, Jay.
Sure, but
you got to pay the mortgage. I mean,
well, obviously, but they always
like dinner's on the table. All right, I want well-mannered kids thanking me every
washed
day
hands
when I walk
in their pockets. Quiet. They should be seen, never heard. But they always have that.
That should have been a line, Jay, in the movie. Someone's got to pay the fucking mortgage.
Yeah. Do you like your life? Where do they live? Like Boston or something? Or like something
somewhere around there.
High cost of living area.
How much do you think these plane tickets to London cost?
Shit's fucking real. He has $1 billion real estate deal. The guy's going to get a little stressed. Cut him some fucking slack.
Yeah, you think the wife could have been more supportive, Jay, right?
Oh, God.
Right? She could have had his back a little bit.
Anyway, where was I going with this?
I don't know.
But I mean, just maybe him discovering his love for being a father again. I think that I feel like could have been a little bit better. And you could have had some more emotional beats with some of the Lost Boys or something like that. I feel like
they tried to do that one with Thud Butt where you know what I miss? My mother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that just felt like out of nowhere. It's like, can I talk to you a minute, Peter? He's just standing there on the fucking bridge for who knows how long. It's like after the food fight or something, and he's like, sure. Like, I think of my mother. That's my happy thought. And I'm like, how do they remember?
But Peter can't.
Yeah, but Peter can't, and then Peter's sons start to forget and never. I don't know.
You know, it's a kid.
Yeah.
You know, it's screenplay by a kid.
I know. Well,
They're a kid's eyes. Well, and that's another thing that kind of. I don't want to say it didn't sit well. It was just kind of out of place where he leaves. He's like, I got to leave now. All right, who should I leave in charge here? But I'm like, but they're like, you're just leaving them, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Don't you? Let's help adopt these kids.
Bring them back.
Let's help adopt them to somebody.
No.
But no, can't do that.
Sequel.
Sequel, baby. Yeah. Well, here, my theory on why it didn't do well.
Mm-hmm.
I think, one, because critics shit all over it. It's got a 29% Rotten Tomato score.
That's way too low.
Come on.
That's just shitting on things for the sake of shitting on things. I mean, obviously this isn't Spielberg's strongest thing. It's not, I mean, the production, it's fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
And it's a fun family movie.
Yeah. My kids loved it, by the way. They saw it for the first time with me. They could not get enough of The Lost Boy and Neverland. So
I'm sure.
It.
Yeah.
Loved
I mean, the set design is, I think, some of the best part. All right, well, I have other fun things or other things I like about this movie, but go first. Why you think it's... So
I think, one, critics crapped all over it.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the open. So when it opened in December 13th, here was the competition. The Addams Family, Beauty and the Beast, My Girl, American Tail, 50 Goes West. All those movies, the exact same time The Hook came out. So I think it had a lot of competition.
Yeah, Beauty and the Beast,
in the family market.
That was the second film of the Disney Renaissance, and then American Tail. I watched the shit out of that.
Yeah.
When I was a kid. Addams Family. I don't think I watched until it was on video.
Addams Family grossed more than Hook. Domestically.
I believe it.
Isn't that crazy?
I mean, television show remake, yeah.
It's nuts.
The other thing that I liked about what my favorite parts, actually is the Wendy portion, telling Peter who he is, and her just kind of explaining what her life was like. Mm-hmm. I actually enjoy that. I'm sad that they didn't concentrate more on that, but that's what I enjoyed rewatching it again. I was like, that's kind of interesting, and or just her dealing with those emotions, but they never. I mean, and it's not for a family movie. Yeah. I don't think it is, because kids aren't going to understand that. Mm-hmm. And it would just drag it down. But I like that concept, the idea of that, of someone having to move on because the other person won't grow up.
Right.
I think that just opens up plenty of things that could be explored, which is probably done in normal romantic comedies or romance films.
Right.
Anyways,
you know what I always laugh at?
What?
It was when they're about to go to the banquet. And she's like, "Oh, Peter, do you like my dress?" He's like, "It's fine."
Yeah, it's fine.
I don't know why I laugh every time, because it's so sad. She has a sad face on her, and then he just.
But and then when you rewatch it, knowing that how she feels about him, because she even says like, "No girl held your attention more than I did," and she's still.
Right.
You're right. She's hurting.
She's hurting inside.
It's fucking sad. This is a depressing movie,
which is why the movie ends with her hanging herself. Just kidding. It's a family movie, people.
But seriously, no, that's how she dies.
Yes.
No, but the other thing, my other favorite part is was it Pockets? I think goes up to Peter and he starts moving his face and stuff like that. And I remember watching that, not understanding what he was doing, because I mean the first time I saw it I was 8, 7, and I remember asking my mom, I was like, what? Why is he doing it? And she's like, he's removing his wrinkles. And that, I think, is like such a nice touch that you don't see in much movies anymore. It's just like that slow beat of doing that. Now, I appreciate that being in there. And I like the kind of, I don't know if it's purposely a callback to Oz, but when he wakes up in Neverland and he has the sheet in front of him and he's looking through the little eye hole, he sees the clock spinning around, and then he kind of like tears it open, and then you just get revealed this whole scenery.
The Pirate Town, yeah. And
I enjoyed that. Felt very Wizard of Oz-ish when she opens up the door and it's color.
Yep.
And
you know the set, the Jolly Roger, the pirate ship was built on top of the Emerald City. It's the same studio as the Wizard of Oz.
Oh, really?
Built right on top of it.
Did not know that.
Yeah.
It's probably in the contract that they had to use a similar or some kind of reveal shot.
Well, they were trying to bill this as this generation's Wizard of Oz. So
yeah, that makes sense.
Makes sense.
But enjoyed that. The weird stuff for me, Maggie singing. That makes sense if it was supposed to be a musical, and they probably had to throw something in there to make people realize.
Nominated for an Oscar. Best Original Song.
Really?
She performed it at the Oscars.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Poor girl.
Yeah.
It reminded me of American Tail, Somewhere Out There.
Yeah, just a weird random song in the middle.
Yeah. For all you American Tail fanatics out there.
Yeah. Weird cuts to Julia Roberts. I feel like it just kind of cuts to her. Now, some of the effects, like her in the dollhouse, I thought was really good.
Yeah.
And like falling down the stairs, and then the interaction between Peter Banning and Tinkerbell. I like the effect of that. I thought that was well done. But I guess Tinkerbell really didn't have much to do. But so
really.
Whenever it cut back to her and she's just kind of like watching everybody being silent, and I'm like, okay, I get it. She's still there.
She's still there, yeah.
That was weird.
Well, the studio execs are like, okay, so we paid Julia Roberts all this money.
Yeah, it's like right after Pretty Woman, and she's being like super huge at the time. Oh, Tink having a new dress. Hey, Peter, do you like my new dress? You don't? Okay.
Dude, Peter's just getting macked on by everybody in Neverland.
But it's like when he's in the tree, and she's like, oh, I have a new dress, and he's like, oh, that's nice, and then she's back in her normal clothes and the clock, and then she explodes, and then she's back in the dress again. And I'm like, what the?
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, it's like, why is it just to show that so that way the dress doesn't come out of nowhere?
Maybe. I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, like she changes word, like I don't know, it's super, it's quick. But and the flashback of Peter remembering, and him kind of going back to seeing Mag, it just felt rushed and weird. Like there's I felt like there was more scenes, or more, those scenes were longer. They just had to smash them together
into that moment.
And just like some of the audio mixing of when he goes and I'm a grandmother, Peter, and he's like, I had to grow up, and like his voice over, no, you promised, like immediately, like over it wasn't, and it just felt awkward and out of place. So it felt like they had to cut a bunch of stuff together, some super quick thing, but yeah, something. Like you said, how much was cut out?
Like 50 minutes.
Yeah, something that felt weird. Mermaid saving him, and all of a sudden he's in a seashell.
I felt like they just put that in there because, remember the Peter Pan cartoon and the mermaids? Like, we have that in here.
Yeah. So, but kind yeah, I mean, some of that stuff. Like, I feel like, I don't know. Tinkerbell wakes up like, "Oh, Peter, you're alive!" And I'm like, "Really? Like, everyone just went home and went to bed?"
It's screw. Yeah, he's dead.
Like, fuck it. Give me 3 days, I'll whip him into shape. Fell in the water. Oh, well, fuck that. I guess we'll go home. See you guys.
Yeah.
Too bad, so sad.
So I like Roger Ebert a lot, but I disagree with this summation of it. The sad thing about the screenplay for Hook is that it's so correctly titled. This whole construction is really nothing more than a hook on which to hang a new version of the Peter Pan story. No effort is made to involve Peter's magic in the changed world he now inhabits, and little thought has been given to Captain Hook's extraordinary persistence in wanting to revisit the events of the past. The failure of Hook is its inability to reimagine the material to find something new, fresh, or urgent to do with the Peter Pan myth. Lacking that, Spielberg should simply have remade the original story straight for this generation. I can't disagree more with that. I don't know why he would say no thought's been given to Captain Hook's extraordinary persistence, and he cut off his hand. It's his arch rival. What more do you want? And him constantly looking for him and finding him and getting him back to Neverland to enact revenge.
Yeah, and that's all he has.
That's all he has. That's what defines him. So I disagree with that. Inability to reimagine the material. What are you talking about?
The whole movie is reimagining.
It's reimagining it, yeah. And then, involve Peter's magic in the changed world he now inhabits. Like, so did he, like, when he's saying that, did he want magic in the London version to be, like, there'd be some sort of magic?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why? That's the whole point of separating out from London to Neverland.
Yeah. And because it's always, I mean, the story's always, is it a dream? Was it a dream? That's why you have Smee being the janitor or the street cleaner or something at the end. And typically, usually when you do, like when they do tellings of the story, the father and Captain Hook is played by the same, Mr. Darling and Captain Hook is played by the same actor. Because it's a dream. It's a children coming to grips with having to grow up or not wanting to grow up. And you have Captain Hook who, I mean, I don't to me, a review like that just seems like I need to write something to be contrarian. The direction that they made in terms of theme, I understand that direction, and I think it was the right direction. Now, you can argue whether or not you don't agree with the execution in some scenes that you've talked about, but to say that it's not a reimagining and... Yeah, that I think is incorrect.
It's kind of...
Yeah. No, I agree with you on that. Yeah. I think maybe...
What I'm trying to say is critics suck. That's what I'm trying to say.
They do, as we critique this.
Well, we're right.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't agree with what he said in that. For me, it's just more of specific execution as far as in choices that they made with the character. I feel like there should.
And you wanted the kids to get a beating and show that scene
as you should,
right? Because that's real life.
It is.
Jay's gonna storyboard it. Like at first, I would,
I mean, Peter Pan just kidnapped children, anyways. It only makes sense that he would beat them.
That's right.
Into what's that condition?
Submission?
No. What's that thing when you start admiring your kidnapper? Stockholm syndrome.
It's a Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah. Yep. And
jeez, Jesus,
this should be a dark movie. It should be gritty.
like Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
The new Winnie the Pooh that came out. Make
Blood
it
and Honey.
Yeah. Once the IP for Peter Pan runs out.
Ugh. But yeah, I mean, it's
we're going back to Neverland.
It's fine. I think. I'm trying to think of a movie that would compare to this.
What, that gets shit on in it?
No, that just like a better, I guess,
the
family.
Final Girls? The Final Girls?
The Final Girls. Now just a better...
I mean, there's a lot of It's a Wonderful Life elements where you wake up and you're a changed man, or maybe it's like a Christmas Carol kind of thing.
Maybe it's just the way he goes about getting there.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just feels weird, or maybe it doesn't feel organic enough or something. I don't know. But I mean, it's still enjoyable. It's still fun.
Yeah.
The set design is fantastic. The sword play is good, considering it's Dustin Hoffman, and I mean, I'm sure there's some stunt doubles in there, but
it's my favorite Peter Pan live action.
Yeah, that's my favorite as well. I mean, I've only seen, I think, a couple more. I remember seeing the Mary Martin one. Of course, that was a stage play. That was on Broadway, but they televised it. And then the Peter Pan in 2003, and then Neverland. Neverland was probably my second, but it is also longer form storytelling. It is a miniseries, so you could do a lot more with it. But no, it's fun. Dustin Hoffman is great. Him and Smee are probably my favorite parts.
Yeah.
Of the movie.
Yeah, they ham it up. They're good.
Yeah. So, but Anything else? No.
No, I'm good too.
Oh, all right.
I recommend it. Go see Hook. I don't know. Are you gonna watch the new Peter Pan and Wendy?
Probably not.
Yeah, me either.
It
just looks bad.
I don't have an interest in. I mean, they keep remaking the same story. Like at least with Hook, they tried something different.
Right.
And I would say try that.
Yeah. I would give it a chance if there was some good word of mouth about it. But I mean, me and you watched Pinocchio, the live action, and I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not wasting time watching something that's.
And that's the thing, because you're always gonna have. I mean, I think I looked at it, had like a 5 point something on IMDb, which that could just be people shitting on it because Tinkerbell's black or because it's lit darkly, or it could be a shit story. Like I don't know. But yeah, unless it has, if it has good word of mouth, it'll have good word of mouth. And
sure.
Yeah, sure. Maybe at that point, then I'll see it. But I agree with you. I'm tired of wasting time on things that suck,
that lack some form of creativity.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah, some form of heart or creativity or any kind of passion behind it. To where if it's because they decided back in 2019 that this was going to be Peter Pan and Wendy was going to be straight streaming.
That's another thing. Like,
so that tells me, no confidence in your product.
Yeah.
You're shitting it out to populate a streaming platform.
Right.
Which hopefully streaming platforms will start going to the wayside, and
I think that's where they're headed.
It'd be nice.
They're not profitable.
Well, they're just making a bunch of shit to take up space. Like, fucking stop it.
Yeah, I know.
Fucking stop.
Well, I think we're in for good times ahead. Studios are gonna be more selective.
Yeah, we're gonna get 20 Super Mario Brother Nintendo movies, and we're going to.
Well, in 10 years, Universal's gonna be in the same spot as Disney is. They're gonna have crap product.
Which Universal's I've always had a soft spot for Universal.
Yeah, me too.
So more power to them, by all means. But yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Alrighty.
All right. Sure. Watch Hook with your kids.
Watch Hook. It's good. My boys loved it.
Yeah. So, all right. Till next time. Oh wait. Oh.
Yeah. What do we do? Hey. Take it easy there.
Hey. Join us next time.
Yes.
As we talk about our top 5 '90s comedies.
Yes.
So that'll be fun.
If you have 5 '90s comedies that are in your top 5, let us know before we actually record, and maybe we'll talk about a few of those.
Yeah. Let us know, and we'll critique your list.
Yeah.
Because we're so much better than you because we spent $200 on microphones and we have the internet to upload stuff.
Right.
So it's not that hard to start a podcast. People.
It really isn't. Not at all. And you know what? You're probably gonna have similar movies that we will. It's not like we're
probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, top 5 '90s comedies. That'll be next. Let us know what your top 5 are, and like us or follow us. We don't have a Facebook page, but follow us on Instagram and Twitter.
Yes.
Also, you can listen to all our past episodes on acastwithnoname.com. Shoot us an email, comment on episodes, all that good stuff. And like us or rate us on Apple and Spotify. Help spread the word of the show if you could, please. If you enjoy the show. If you don't enjoy the show, just don't listen to us. It's America, goddammit. You can do what you want.
Sure can.
As long as you don't hurt anybody else. But
don't tell that to Jay.
That's right.
Yeah. Scary man. Yes.
All right.
Till next time, Jay.
Till next time, Matt.